Welcome to the news on Zodiac. My name is Joab Frank Chakaza. First, the headlines. National Planning Commission says over 70% of Malawians have been plunged into vulnerability as a result of COVID-19. Chief Resident Magistrates Court in Lilongwe dismisses 2 applications by Prophet Shepherd Bushiri and his wife Mary. Government says it is working on a prison exchange agreement with China. In sports, Malawi national women's football team asks for early preparations ahead of COSAFA Women's Championship in June. Now the news in detail. A recent research by the National Planning Commission, NPC, has revealed that over 70% of Malawians have been plunged into vulnerability as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. The research, titled Effects of COVID-19 on Agricultural Production, Food Markets, Growth and Poverty in Malawi, documents that the pandemic has escalated disruptions on both cross-border trade and the local market. NPC's Director for Knowledge and Learning, Joseph Nagoli, has told Zodiac the study calls for the need for more investment in the agriculture sector. Mibawa reports.
Effects of COVID-19 on agriculture production, food markets, growth and poverty in Malawi. A research paper by the planning think tanks documents that a lot of Malawians are now vulnerable as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Some contributors include disruption of trade on both local and international markets that has affected businesses, mainly in the agriculture sector. National Planning Commission's Director of Learning and Knowledge, Joseph Nagoli, told Zodiac the current situation can be addressed through concerted efforts to encourage food resilience.
I think this is a worrisome situation that the pandemic has actually increased poverty levels. We are trying to see how can we grow from now.
Minister of Agriculture's Director of Planning, Rodwell Mzombe, admitted of the findings. Mzombe told us government is taking all efforts to reduce the vulnerability burden amid the COVID-19 pandemic.
We need to have a concerted effort to make sure that we plan very well, to make sure that our operations are well coordinated so that people should be healthy in a way, but we should also try to prevent the spread further to affect more farmers in Malawi.
At the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic, the report recounts that prices of commodities skyrocketed and this affected lives of many Malawians. At the peak of the pandemic, the report recounts that prices of commodities skyrocketed and this affected lives of many Malawians. For Zodiac, I am Chimwemwe Badata.
Meanwhile, government is expected to develop a 3-year socio-economic recovery plan which will help address COVID-19 induced adversities with support from the United Nations. United Nations Resident Coordinator Maria Jose Torres said in Lilongwe Tuesday that this is one of the strategies the UN hopes will aid Malawi achieve its 2063 development agenda. She added that promotion of public reforms and engagement with the citizenry by government in spite of socio-economic impact of the pandemic would push implementation of the country's development agenda. Anafe Mulamba has filed this report.
As COVID-19 continues to financially affect the citizenry, the United Nations feels governments needs to directly engage Malawians on the matter. UN Resident Coordinator Maria Jose Torres said government needs to change its approach in the public service delivery for 70% of the population needs to be met. The remarks were made on Tuesday in Lilongwe during a joint strategy meeting which was aimed at assessing how Malawi and the United Nations have collectively performed in the implementation of development goals which are aligned to Malawi 2063 and the 2030 agenda.
70% of the Malawi population lives in the rural areas, and we all know that the impact of COVID has gone much deeper than in just the access to health. It has also gone into losing opportunities for jobs, losing incomes. So if we want to realize the vision of the country for 2063, we certainly need to engage in a very strong way young people living in the rural areas so they can have access to opportunities for training, for improving their access to business, connecting the supply chain.
Secretary to Treasury Chances Mwaka acknowledged that COVID-19 pandemic has exposed gaps in the public service.
Government of Malawi and the UN team in Malawi, we meet twice a year on the devastating effects of the COVID-19. I will not come up with specific timelines, but we should be able to come back to you very soon with specific timelines on the recovery plan.
Government through the United Nations is to develop a 3-year socio-economic recovery plan which is expected to address COVID-19 adversities, especially in the public service delivery.
The Chief Resident Magistrates Court in Lilongwe has dismissed 2 applications by Prophet Shepherd Bushiri and his wife Mary to have their extradition case dismissed and have it certified as a constitutional matter. Lawyer for the 2 had argued that the case needed to be dismissed as the South African government had based it on the Zodiak protocol, which is not domesticated in Malawi. But in his ruling today, Chief Resident Magistrate Patrick Chira said, while he agrees that the Zodiak protocol cannot be used in Malawi, South Africa was designated under a bilateral act of 1974 as a processable destination. Still in the courts, a magistrate court in Lilongwe has adjourned to 24 May the fraud and money laundering case of former Mera CEO Collins Magalasi and 3 others. State and defense lawyers have so far concluded cross-examining Mera's consumer affairs manager, Fitina Konje, and have since started cross-examining a second witness, Assistant Procurement Officer Albert Mungukwa. Our reporter Western Guta attended the proceedings.
Chief Resident Magistrate Court in Lilongwe continued to cross-examine Mera's Consumer Affairs Manager Fitina Konje, where verification of documents and statements was made. These included procurement proposals, revisions and approvals, which some of them Konje said had never seen until at the time. After Konje, second witness Albert Mungukwa took to the dock, where among other things he told the court that at some point he noted that a budget below the price was offered, this after he was instructed by his departmental boss to prepare a purchase order. Mungukwa, an assistant procurement officer, further said he was not aware of the process of identification which saw Vink Enterprises belonging to Dorothy Shonga was identified and selected. Lawyer for Magalasi Ande Kaonga said he is convinced with the progress of the case and says that the defense is ready for all the witnesses.
I would advise you never to be fooled by number of witnesses. It's about what they will say that matters too. And we've seen what people have said. Let them come actually. You were there when actually they were seeking an adjournment, showing that they were probably not ready.
Magalasi is answering fraud and money laundering case alongside Mera spokesperson Patrick Maulidi, Procurement Officer Bright Mbewe, and Dorothy Shonga, his business associate. Reporting for Zodiak.
Now, the order for all refugees and asylum seekers to relocate to Zodiak refugee camp in Doha by Wednesday has been suspended by the courts. Our reporter in Doha, Onyango Nkoma, went to Zodiak camp to appreciate the situation.
A legal battle has commenced between government and refugees on the decision to move all asylum seekers to Zodiak camp in Doha. This follows the move by the High Court to grant orders staying the government's decision. Initially, the refugees were ordered to relocate to Zodiak camp by today. Judiciary Registrar Gladys Gondwe confirmed to us about a stay order obtained at the High Court, Blantyre Registrar.
Unless the court makes a contrary decision, the implementation will have to be put on hold.
Meanwhile, Minister of Homeland Security Richard Chimwendo Banda says the move will affect an operation in which some refugees have already moved to the camp.
We respect the court, but that is going to impact negatively because most of them have trickled to Zodiak now as I speak. They have vehicles picking people going back to Zodiak, and we had planned a peaceful transition. Police are all over the country to make sure that our brothers and sisters actually have a peaceful transition, relocating back to Zodiak.
According to court documents we have seen, Abdul Nahimana leads claimants in the stay order obtained from the High Court Blantyre Registry, while at the Lilongwe Registry, Eli Umukunzi obtained the stay order. This is Winston Kaimira reporting for Zodiak.
You're watching the news here on Zodiac. We'll take a short break and be right back with more. Stick around.
What do you do when your rights as a consumer are violated?
Call CFTC.
Who do you tell when there are anti-competitive business practices?
You tell CFTC.
What do you do when you notice deceptive business conduct or excessive pricing?
Oh, that's easy. Call CFTC.
The Competition and Fair Trading Commission, CFTC, minimizes malpractices that disadvantage both the consumer and traders. Call
The National Planning Commission, NPC, and the Ministry of Economic Planning and Development and Public Sector Reforms wish to inform the general public about a change in the format for launching the country's new vision, Malawi 2063. In view of the recent spike in COVID-19 cases in the country, government has directed that the launch be changed from a physical one to a virtual platform. The MW 2063 will be launched by the President, His Excellency Dr. Lazarus Chakwera, on Tuesday 19th January 2021 from 9 a.m. The President and a few selected officials
993 377 777.
Sompenya amalawi watojukula Malawi 2063 akale wosi mirabae ufika 2063 akale wokomera aliyense achinyamata tikwirane manja tojukula Malawi achinyamata tikale patsogo tojukula Malawi Malawi wosi mirabae Malawi wokomera aliyense Malawi 2063 kusinda dziko lathu mokomera aliyense.
If there's one thing that all soaps do, it's wash. From buckets to basins, bathrooms to streams, and everything in between.
All soaps wash.
Yes, but Protex is different. Its reinvented formula with flaxseed oil boosts your skin's natural anti-germ defenses by 10 times more, protecting you against 99.9% of germs. So what keeps us healthy?
Protex!
Good health starts here.
Kungwonjezera mayunits ATNM kuyambira 200 kwacha kapena kuposera pamenepo mutha kukhala mmodzi mwa mamilioneya mu TNM Tikolole promotion. Koma mukaonjezera mayunits ndi 100 kwacha kapena kuposerapo mudzilandira mabonus oyimbira foni, SMS kapena data pompo.
TNM, always with you.
Special scholarships available at UNICAF University for bachelor, master's and doctoral degree programs. UNICAF University is accredited nationally by the NCHE and internationally by the British Accreditation Council in the UK. Enroll for internationally recognized degrees at a fraction of the cost, with the special scholarships available for the April-June 2021 intake. Feel safe knowing that your online studies with UNICAF University will not be disrupted by measures for the pandemic. From enrollment to graduation, everything runs smoothly online. Don't miss this golden opportunity. This offer is only valid until the end of June 2021. So apply today and get a free tablet when you register and pay the required deposit. Ring 01755 or WhatsApp 0993 907002 for more information.
The headlines of this hour. National Planning Commission says over 70% of Malawians have been plunged into vulnerability as a result of COVID-19. Chief Resident Magistrates Court in Lilongwe dismisses 2 applications by Prophet Shepherd Bushiri and his wife Mary. Government says it is working on a prison exchange agreement with China. In sports, Malawi national women's football team asks for early preparations ahead of COSAFA Women's Championship in June. Now moving on, Secretary for Foreign Affairs says Malawi is working on a prison exchange agreement with China to have a Malawian, now a convict in China, Estina Mukasera, repatriated home. Lages Kwese said this when he appeared before the Parliamentary Committee on International Relations today. Mukasera was given a 24-year jail term by a court in China for drug trafficking. We have details in this report, filed by Nafe Mlamba.
In March this year, a court in China sentenced a Malawian Estina Mukasera, aged 31, to 24 years in prison after she was nabbed with 2,190 grams of cocaine in 2018. Following this, Secretary for Foreign Affairs Lake Kanyamula Sikwese has told the Parliamentary Committee on International Relations on Wednesday morning that they are currently working on a prison exchange agreement to have her returned to Malawi.
For Malawi to bring any other prisoner, any Malawian, you need to have certain instruments in place. And in this case, we need to have the prison exchange agreement, which we are working on. Besides her own efforts to appeal the case, but we need to have these instruments in place, to which the People's Republic of China.
Chairperson for the Parliamentary Committee on International Relations, Patrick Bandawe, is optimistic that the issue will be handled and that justice will be served accordingly.
The committee was very afraid with the issue of the consulate in Dubai, because the expectations of the committee and the entire country was we should deploy our own Malawians. But in this regard, it was like it was a bit abnormal that they deployed somebody who based in that country, Dubai.
It is alleged that some Nigerian nationals involved in drug trafficking sent Mukasera to Hong Kong to deliver a parcel of which she claimed she wasn't aware of the contents in the bag.
Vice President Dr. Saulos Chilima has regretted government's continued appetite to initiate development projects when it has no financial muscle for implementation. The Vice President spoke in Mangochi when he toured a major irrigation scheme that has failed to roll out since it was initiated 18 years ago, in the process accumulating a 1.6 billion kwacha debt in arrears with the contractor. The Vice President also lamented the stalled construction of 43 houses for marine soldiers 8 years since the project commenced. Details in this report with Alex Banda.
The Nkopora irrigation scheme in Mangochi was financed at the tune of $10 million United States dollars. Badia injected 79% of the funds into the project at its commencement in 2003, while the government of Malawi was to foot for the 21%. Philip Nkwela, president for Nkopora Irrigation Scheme, tells us 18 years on, Nkopora Irrigation Scheme stands idle, accumulating 1.6 billion kwacha in arrears to contractor Sawa Group and excessive electricity bills standing at well over 19 million kwacha. Vice President Saulos Chilima, who visited the scheme on Tuesday, and the construction of Maritime Malawi Defense Force soldiers' houses in Monkey Bay, which has dragged for 8 years now, regretted government's continued appetite to initiate development projects without funds to complement their implementation. He, however, said government will not abandon the project.
The fact that the idea of the scheme is a very good one, and from what I see here, we need to have better collaboration as we go forward. The areas, there is electricity bills, and then there is some operational issues to be sorted out. I don't think we should write the project off just yet. We need the people to work, and we take a review. From what I've seen and from what I've heard, including the word you've used to say this is a white elephant, I don't think we should call it a white elephant just yet.
Ideally, if the Nkopora irrigation scheme, standing on the 800 hectares of land, comes to fruition, 5,000 households stand to benefit. For Zodiak in Mangochi, this is Alex Banda.
And now to sports news. The Malawi national women's football team, the Scorchers head coach Macnelbert Kazua, has asked the Football Association of Malawi to consider early preparations for the forthcoming COSAFA Women's Championship scheduled for June in South Africa. Kazua told us that early preparations will help the girls to gain momentum after being inactive since last year due to the COVID-19 situation in the country. Meanwhile, FAM says Kazua's proposal is under consideration. Brad Kanyama's further report.
After staying for nearly a year without playing active football, the Malawi national women's team, the Scorchers, faces tough task ahead to prepare for COSAFA tournament scheduled for June in South Africa. Scorchers head coach Macnelbert Kazua has since called for early preparations for his charges to gain momentum ahead of the Southern Africa country's tournament. Kazua says with the sport yet to kickstart in the country, it will be up to the coaches to ensure the players are ready both mentally and physically, hence the call for early preparations.
What we want as a technical and especially as a coach, we want to reassemble to camp with these girls so that we start preparing towards what is coming ahead of us, and especially that we know that we'll be going for another tournament. So we want to assemble these girls together and then start some preparation. Then not only training, but we still need to have some friendly matches. We got that plan to say we need one or two international friendly matches so that we can see where our girls are as of now.
Meanwhile, Football Association of Malawi, through the Technical Director's Office, says Kazua's proposal is under consideration. For Zodiac, this is Bright Kanyama.
Let's take another look at the headlines before we leave. National Planning Commission says over 70% of Malawians have been plunged into vulnerability as a result of COVID-19. Chief Resident Magistrates Court in Lilongwe dismisses 2 applications by Prophet Chepet Bushiri and his wife Mary. Government says it is working on a prison exchange agreement with China. In sports, Malawi national women's football team asks for early preparations ahead of COSAFA Women's Championship in June. Visit our website zodiacmalawi.com for more news. COVID-19 vaccination is underway in the country. Make a decision, protect yourself, protect your loved ones. My name is Job Frank Chakaza. Thanks for watching.